Am I wrong for flipping out on my fiance for selling the gaming chair my brother gifted me to pay for her gym membership? I, male 33, lost my 27-year-old brother to cancer a couple of months ago. We were so close and had a lot in common. He was a gamer and had all types of gaming gear, including a gaming chair that he wanted me to have before he died. It's devastating because we were really hoping and had planned to spend Christmas together. This chair I consider special because it was my brother's favorite of all gear and it reminds me of him whenever I sit in it. I don't play anymore. It just brings me closer to him to a degree I cannot explain, and it brings me so much comfort. I keep the chair in my office, and days ago I found out that my fiance, who has been out of a job and complaining about no longer being able to attend the gym, took the chair and sold it online to be able to pay for her next month's gym membership. When I found out, I flipped out hugely and had a very negative reaction. She told me that she was desperate for money, and after selling all she had no choice but to sell the chair. I reminded her of who this chair belonged to, but she said I already have tons of keepsakes for my brother and I shouldn't act like it was the end of the world. She also vented about her past eating disorders and her anxiety when it comes to keeping fit and claimed I was dismissing that she was struggling. I yelled at her and called her inconsiderate and selfish and told her she should have never taken any of my stuff and sold it for a gym membership when she literally could have kept working out from home. She started crying as we argued, and then she went to stay with her mom, who tried to give me a stern talk about my attitude, but I didn't answer that and haven't been talking to my fiance since then. Things haven't gotten better, and I got called overdramatic for reacting and treating my fiance like that over a gaming chair. I feel guilty because I've never yelled at her in my life before. So, was I wrong here? Did I go too hard on her?
Am I the asshole for ruining my brother's day after he dropped his 3-year-old son at my house? I, male 32, have a brother, male 30, Kevin, who is a single dad to a 3-year-old. Kevin lives in the same city as me, and we don't have any family relatives here, just a few friends. Kevin has a habit of dumping his kid on me at random times to watch while he goes off on dates with women. So far, he's gone out on 4 dates while expecting me to watch my nephew. It bothered me because I have work commitments because I'm a nurse and my schedule is unpredictable. Last week, he did it again and came over at 6 p.m. and entered my house with my nephew. He has a spare key, and while I was showering, he left the house immediately. I got out and was shocked to see my nephew. I asked where his dad was and he said he just left. I knew he wanted me to watch my nephew and I called several times on the phone and he didn't pick up. I was so mad and freaking out because I was getting late for my shift. I sent him a text saying to come right now or I called the cops for child abandonment. He begged that I suck it up because he had an important date. I said I was serious and I'd do it and gave him 10 minutes to get home. He got home looking pissed and yelled at me for ruining his date and making him leave in the middle of it. I said I never agreed to watch his son and he made me do it. He said it was an emergency that made me laugh because calling a date an emergency is absurd.
My husband beat cancer and now is giving up on our relationship. He's also abusing me financially. It's been 6 months since my 21 female husband, 21 male, had a stem cell transplant. This was in conjunction with chemotherapy to help improve his quality of life if the chemo worked as a treatment. He had metastatic brain cancer in his bones, but his chances weren't good. He still has to worry about the cancer coming back in the future, but the treatment did work, and now he's back to normal life. Except nothing has been normal. He's been depressed ever since he got home from the transplant. I've tried talking to him about it and showing my support. I talked to his family, basically just telling them he's feeling burned out and asking if they could reach out more. I've tried to handle a lot of my own struggles on my own. I have clinical depression, and now I'm recovering from pushing that aside to be his caregiver for 2 years. I'm in counseling and I still work full-time. This past week he told me he's been thinking about it for a few weeks, and he doesn't think he can do this anymore. This being our marriage. He says I always take my anger out on him, and the past year has been all about me. I took a few deep breaths and then told him that's hard to believe, since in the past year all I've done is work and use all my vacation days on being there for his treatments. This summer, we used all of our extra money on him getting his dream motorcycle and all the accessories to go with it. We had planned on me getting one too, but it ended up being too expensive, so we agreed on him doing the motorcycle course and getting a bike himself. I've been focused on my therapy and healing. I've been going to work every day. I also got basically ghosted by my bestie after she got married this summer. I've had repressed memories and childhood traumas come up in the last month that I've been working through basically on my own. My husband knows this, but we've had a total of 2 conversations about it. And when I try to bring it up, he makes the conversation about something unrelated. I said I wanted to go to marriage counseling, since he's been refusing to see his own therapist or counselor for the last 3 years. He finally got himself a counselor instead, and I feel like it's too late for that. After he told me this week he thought our relationship was over, I snapped. I told him if he was giving up, then I wasn't going to shut up about the pain I'm dealing with anymore. I'm always forced to be quiet, to listen to him talk about what he's going through, and I've done it happily for our entire marriage. And to hear him say those things felt like the ultimate betrayal. Now he wants to take it back. He says I never should have said that, but he wants me to give him time to work with his counselor and heal. But I still think the problem isn't addressed. He thinks the last year had been about me, when our entire marriage has been about him. And he never acknowledged that. He refuses to talk about his treatment and things we were together for, but he makes jokes about his own funeral, even though it makes me cry. Does anyone have advice? Or questions are welcome. I think he's given up, but now that he's verbalized it, part of me just wants to be done. For the first update, here's the skinny. My 21 female husband, 21 male had 2 years of intense treatment for cancer. He went into remission after a stem cell transplant this past spring. Ever since, he's been negligent of my feelings and our relationship. He rarely wants to do anything I want to do, and there's always a reason why we can't at a time, but he'll never consider it again after he said no. And this is about stupid things like going to the zoo or out late on a weeknight. He won't spend any extra money on me, even to get a lamp to go over my vanity, or new clothes when I've hardly shopped since we got married. I make my own money, but he does all the budgets. When he was in treatment, we developed a system where I'd send him what he needed to pay the bills. He'd send my money back to me if there was an extra. When we moved in the spring, our rent went up, so he said we had to cut our spending money. He told me to just keep $100 every month and send him the rest. I don't. I always say there's a few extra things I need to keep money for and hang on to a bit, but I still end up with very little in my account. And I always told him that I wasn't okay with doing that for more than a month or two, while we figured out our finances. I'm not comfortable just sending all my money to him to handle. But ever since, it's been reason after reason why we haven't been able to merge our accounts. He said a few times that he understands why I want a joint account, but he doesn't see the difference since he's my husband and I can trust him with. He knows my parents are really bad with money, and they never taught me to manage money. Sometimes he hints at that when I talk about wanting to share in our finances. But I had more savings than my husband ever did. I owned my own car before I even had one, and then his dad paid for half of it. I paid for our wedding. It was small, but still nice, and cost about $8,000. While we were engaged, he bought a pickup that died before our wedding. He spent his savings paying the rest of the loan on it, about $10,000. I paid first and last in our apartment and covered rent while he couldn't find a job. This is after I got him a job at a pizzeria I'd been at for 6 months. He got us both fired. He always says they were shady anyways, which is true, but not the point. After my original post, I told him I want to set up a mutual fund, so we can at least have our cash and bills coming from the same place. He just asked me to move the appointment with the bank. Then a few minutes later came out with a plan he and his brother made for us to get a joint checking account. I said that's not a mutual fund. I don't want to do what we already planned. At this point, the red flags are off the map. We've talked. He explains, but things never get better for me. I can't focus on myself at all because I'm basically babysitting a grown man. I have so much healing to do. I don't want to do it together, but he's not letting it happen. I think it should be over, but part of me wants to keep fighting for this. After everything, I just want this to work so bad. Could this possibly be salvageable? If not, how do I pick myself up enough to face that fact? Now for the last update. I'm writing this from a relative's house. I told my husband that I wanted to separate nearly 2 weeks ago, then left the apartment on Monday. I feel like I've changed so much since my original posts, and a part of that is thanks to all the commenters here. I really appreciate everyone who shared their insights and experiences. I've realized that my now ex had a serious dependency on me. I don't think he realizes this, but he's been talking a lot about the childhood trauma he has surrounding his mom, who he cut out of his life. In my previous post, I mentioned how he told me that he thought our marriage was over. There were other things he said at a time that were really hurtful too. Now he tells me he said those things in moments of misdirected anger. He was angry about his mom and took it out on me. He's been really nice the last few weeks, but there's also been some interactions where he's just been a-holish. It's been downright disappointing the way he reacts to me asking for help with things. I feel like he's maybe put a lot more thought into how he acts, but it's still so self-centered that he's not actually doing anything to help me. He asks me questions, but never has much to say. Until today when he asked if I had thought about how he's felt going through cancer, and if I meant my vows, and how was I just going to give up on us when he never has. Not gonna lie, guilt-tripping has always been a boundary I've tried to maintain in our relationship. He doesn't do this, so I was pretty done after that. I mean, I already told him I will likely want to get divorced once we've been separated for a year. Legal reasons. I told him I think we should have entirely separate lives. No commitment to each other. I said we could still talk if it was good for us. But after the fact that he came into the phone call with those questions written down ahead of time, and he told me he always fixes things and makes them right after he messes up. And has fixed his problems in the last month. That's why he's had 2 counseling sessions and got advice from 2 older brothers. I am so done. Like hurt, betrayed, turned off. I just want this to be over. I just know it's going to keep hurting me and I'm not letting it happen anymore. I took my rings off for good this morning. I don't think I can regret our marriage, but I won't regret walking away from it either. I feel terrible sometimes because I know the things he's been through. And because I wish I could have stayed married to my first love. And I hate that he's going through this too, but we've both been through so much. I think the difference is that I wanted to get through those things together, and he decided to go silent for most of our marriage. In the process, I got pushed away, hurt, and honestly feel a bit taken advantage of. I realize that right now, he's someone who's going to continue to push me away and freeze me out. He wants another chance, after he burned chances for 6 months, and I'm not ashamed to admit. I can't do it. I won't, not after everything. This man took my love and life and looked the other way while I paid for it. I hope he sees it, and I hope he really heals and fixes his problems. I can't be there for it though, and he chose that even if indirectly. I'm in a limbo now, just starting to figure out what the next few weeks will look like. Guys, please help me by sharing your knowledge and wisdom and experience. I do have good support close to me, but I think we all know the unique value of r/relationship advice. And I'm not admitting it much, but I'm sad and scared. The last 2 posts made me feel less alone.
Hi guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.